Good morning, everybody. My name is Gary Hart. I am your worship associate today. I'm just waiting for the thunderous crowds of people in the parking lot to get in here, and they've just about arrived. I see it's all about the bass day with Michael Souchet here on the bass. Thank you, Michael. And our wonderful Severin Brennan as always. Today you're in for a treat. You have Robin Arehart as our primary speaker today. She will be preaching to us. Okay, I see we all survived the holiday visit with our relatives, even that strange Uncle Bob that sits on the couch to eat in the living room. Today's welcoming words are from Chip Rausch. We are about to enter a sacred time. We are about to make this time and this place sacred by our presence and intention. Please. I'm waiting for the sled now. I don't. Yeah. Okay, it's a rowdy crowd today. Please turn off or silence your phones, and as you do so, I invite us also to turn down the volume on our fears, to remove our masks, and to loosen the armor about our hearts. Don't take my word for it. Do it as slowly as you need to. If you take a little risk with these good people, you may find that they have the same human needs as you. Breathe. Let go of the expectations placed on you by others and those they taught you to place on yourself. Drop the guilt and the shame. Do not shirk accountability, but an honest expectation of the possibility of forgiveness. Let go of the thing you said the other day. Let go of the thing you dread next week. Be here in this moment. Breathe here. And now for some announcements. Men's group this Thursday, 9:30. You would be amazed at what goes on at the men's group, and the only way to find out is to show up. Men's group, 9:30. You can still donate to the split plate for PFLAG from last Sunday. If you wish to do so, see Gabby in the office. And Camp de Benneville is conducting a fundraising campaign through the year end. They're going to try to get a matching of $100,000. If you'd like to help them out, see Andy Kistner or Gabby in the office. We are currently offering registration for our spring session of Junior Owl, grades 7 to 9. Fee is $75 for members and $100 for non-members. And guess what? See Gabby in the office. Or Jewel. Jewel could probably help you out just as well. And now it's time for the chalice lighting.
We light this chalice today as a people dedicated to personal growth. May it burn away the oppressions we have been taught and glow instead with the humility of learning. May it reignite our dreams for a better world and kindle our joy for simple living. May its warmth extend out into the forgotten alleyways of exclusion and bring us home to love, to welcoming, and to all the challenges, the questions, and the blessings of this beautiful path to becoming a beloved community.
And now it's time for Greet Your Neighbor. So please feel free to stand up, greet your neighbor carefully, briefly, and briefly. And now I'd like to announce the winning lottery numbers. The winning lottery numbers will be announced now. The winning lottery numbers. As soon as you return to your seat, we'll announce the winning lottery numbers. And now we take our seats. And I reveal that there are no winning lottery numbers. But it's time for opening words. Today's opening words are from Mary Oliver's poem, In Blackwater Woods. Everybody loves Mary Oliver. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and then, when the time comes, to let it go. To let it go. What more can one ask of us on our own path towards self-actualization? We welcome you all here. And now it's time for our opening hymn, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple." Please stand if you are willing and able. Now it's time for Story of All Ages with Jewel.
Have to officially announce if we have any other little ones around. Is it on? Okay. Hold it out. All right. Whew. Okay. Good morning, you guys. As Gary mentioned, OWL registration is open. I wanted to make sure you guys had the link. And if you want to register your kids or talk to your family about it, I can give you a physical flyer, or you can also go on the website, or just reach out to me, catch me at lunch, if you have any questions. And then next Sunday, yes, So next Sunday, we have 20 tons of snow coming. And we are kicking off our winter drive. And during Friendsgiving, we assembled the tree. And thank you to all of our tall people, Murph and Rex, and Soren, who helped organize that. And we went through a lot of the decorations. And so in the tons of stuff that we had in PUC's attic, there was a lot of plastic and store-bought things. And the one thing that I didn't see is I didn't see you guys. Like, I didn't see our personalities. And so I want to challenge you and invite you to take this blank canvas and make it your own. And if you have something that represents your family's traditions, your heritage, your passions, the way that you practice your faith, whatever inspires you about the holidays, please add it to this tree, so that when we light this thing up, we light it up with joy, and it reflects who we are as a community. So you can bring an ornament. You can make one next week. We will have tables outside. We had so much fun making ornaments on Friendsgiving, and they're really kind of special. So one time I asked the MTT to bring something that represented themselves, and Tara brought soap because her family worked really hard with their hands, and that was really a powerful testimony of the way she experiences the world. So when we look at this thing, I want to see your story. So speaking of stories, let's get to it. So Kevin has a surprise in your pocket. Open it up very carefully and pass them out. Okay. So they're still a little wet, I think, because those seeds that she's going to pass out to the kids came from Chelsea's garden this morning. And from Alex's watermelon. Okay, so if you look at the seeds, everything that's inside the seed, it already has everything that it needs to be the fullest version of itself. So it just needs the right conditions to become its full self. So how did you learn to do math? Yeah. Well, we learn math by solving problems, right? Yeah. So go with my crazy. This makes sense. Okay. So, Kevin, you want to read the slide?
The soil of our mind contains many seeds, positive and negative. We are the gardeners who identify water and cultivate the best seeds.
Yeah. So Thich Nhat Hanh, he wrote this that kind of explains how the way our approach to problems in life, and we have to tend our own perception of it. So if you plant a seed in springtime, by autumn a plant will mature and bear flowers. From those flowers, new seeds will fall to the earth, where they will be stored until they sprout and produce new flowers. Our mind is a field which every kind of seed is sown. Seeds of compassion, joy, and hope. Seeds of sorrow, fear, and difficulties. Every day, our thoughts, words, and deeds plant new seeds in the field of our mind. What these seeds generate becomes the substance of our life. There are both wholesome and unwholesome seeds in our mind field, sown by ourselves, our parents, schooling, ancestors, and society. As we cultivate the seeds of joy and transform seeds of suffering in ourselves when we have difficulties, then understanding, love, and compassion will flower. So another way we can remember that is that we're the only ones who think in our own minds. So when we have a problem, we get to decide how and what qualities we want to grow. All right, who wants to go play? All right, let's sing out our kids. Thank you.
Now let us sing to the power of the great within. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the faith within.
Now it's time for our centering hymn, one of my favorites, Spirit of Life. You can remain seated.
Here we go. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Now it's time for candles of joys and sorrows. I have a little reading here, and then everyone who wants to share a joy or a sorrow or a little bit of both, come up and Leanne will hand you a candle and give you the microphone. In our community, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because each person in this community has value. Each person's experience matters. We share our sorrows with one another today, knowing that sorrow comes into each person's life, knowing that together we can offer comfort. We also share our joys with one another, knowing too that joy comes into all of our lives, knowing that together our voices can rise in a chorus of celebration. Not every joy or sorrow can be shared openly in community. Some must be shared eye to eye or held in the heart. We further recognize that some do not have voices with which to speak the depth of their pain or the height of their celebration. We make space each week for silent candle lighting, knowing the life and experience of each person matters, and together the light shines brighter. So come on up, be willing to share your joy and sorrow.
Last week I told you that I was going in to have heart catheterization.
candle being lit for all the unspoken joys and sorrows.
Thank you, everyone. It's time now for our meditation. So if you sit comfortably, put your feet on the floor, close your eyes if you feel like it. This meditation comes from the Reverend Max Coots. Let us give thanks for a bounty of people, for children who are our second planting, and though they grow like weeds and the wind too soon blows them away, may they forgive us our cultivation and fondly remember where their roots are. Let us give thanks for generous friends with hearts and smiles as bright as their blossoms, for feisty friends as tart as apples, for continuous friends who, like scallions and cucumbers, keep reminding us that we've had them, for crotchety friends, sour as rhubarb and as indestructible, for handsome friends who are as gorgeous as eggplants and as elegant as a row of corn, and the others as plain as potatoes and so good for you. For funny friends who are as silly as Brussels sprouts and as amusing as Jerusalem artichokes, and serious friends as unpretentious as cabbages, as subtle as summer squash, as persistent as parsley, as delightful as dill, as endless as zucchini, and who, like parsnips, can be counted on to see you through the winter. For old friends nodding like sunflowers in the evening time, and for young friends coming on as fast as radishes. For loving friends who wind around like tendrils and hold us despite our blights, wilts, and witherings. And finally, for those friends now gone, like gardens past, that have been harvested, but who fed us in their times that we might have life together. For all these we give thanks. Let's pause for a moment in silence to remember those friends who have touched our lives. Now let's have a musical meditative response.
This reading is from Jen Crow. Some of the best advice I ever received was this: in whatever situation you find yourself, take what you need and leave the rest behind. Don't waste your energy arguing. Just take what you need and leave the rest behind. Over the years, I've found this advice works not only for family gatherings and 12-step meetings, but for the larger project of spiritual living too. And the best news of all, this taking what we need and leaving the rest behind isn't only a one-time thing. We can do it anytime. Looking back over our lives, we can hear the stories anew, choosing where to focus our attention and where to widen our view. We can let go of old ways of understanding that no longer serve us, and we can wiggle our way free, becoming the meaning makers and the storytellers of our own lives. We get to choose what we need in a given moment, and what we need gets to change. I may be the board president, but first and foremost, I am a teacher. Let me tell you a little bit about my teaching career. I've taught in 5 different schools over my 21 years of teaching. First, I taught city kids, then backcountry kids in Connecticut, then suburban kids in La Crescenta, then city kids again in Watts. And now I teach at El Camino College, where I teach everybody. I teach intro composition to students from PV and Gardena, Manhattan Beach and Carson, Watts and Hermosa Beach, Torrance and Inglewood and San Pedro and Lawndale and Redondo Beach and Compton, all sitting right next to each other. My classes include students ranging from 16 to 76 years old. They include immigrants from all corners of the world. Their religions, their home lives, their cultures, their levels of preparation coming into my classroom is also varied, and I love it. Those of you who know me from the membership committee know that I love meeting new people. I love learning about their lives through the examples they share in their essays. That's an English teacher for you. We say we want people to practice their writing, but really we're just nosy. I have a strong background in pedagogy and curriculum from my master's at Brown University and my experience as department chair in Glendale Unified. I've always loved designing courses full of student choice, where students can select from a number of articles on different topics depending on their interests, and at different reading levels depending on their abilities. Instruction is personalized so that students can focus on their goals for their writing, grammar, and reading, goals which they set themselves. I have given several professional development workshops in my time at El Camino on culturally relevant pedagogy, the tenets of which are basically this: students learn best when their cultures, identities, and ideas are recognized, celebrated, and validated in the classroom. These ideals I describe should sound a little familiar. I am trying to create a space in which we are all on distinctly different learning paths, much like our free and responsible search for truth and meaning from our UUA 4th principle. And yet, despite these different paths, we are all in this supportive, interconnected web from our 7th principle. I am trying to create a validating environment in which there is acceptance and encouragement for one another, and there is space for each person to share and to see the inherent worth and dignity in one another, our 1st principle. I have stars in my eyes, I know, but that is as it should be. Students do not grow in their writing if all they get is criticism. How many of us have been discouraged by the markings of an overzealous red pen? Students need critical feedback, yes, but they also need encouragement. I have seen many first drafts, which more than a few of you might throw up your hands and say, "What? You call this a paper?" But every draft has something in it, some idea there that I can say to the student, look at this part here. This section has a great idea that maybe you can build off of for your next draft. And that is the way I feel about this church. Every person has something to contribute to the conversation, to church committees, activities. It's just a matter of drawing out our various strengths. Truly, every student has a good idea whenever I ask them to honestly respond to class texts or ideas. I may help students to reorganize their writing, to include more relevant details, or to punctuate their sentences in a very, let's just say, different way than they've been punctuating them. But by responding to the class readings and topics, students share so much of themselves. I learn about their values and goals, about how important self-expression through poetry, music, or dance can be to them, about the child development, nursing, or computer science courses that are leading them to their careers, about how they want to focus better when they study or want to write better thesis statements or transitions. I learn about their lives, about parents who inspired them through struggles of immigration or long hours at work, about little ones or elders they care for at home, about families whom they want to make proud. I learn about their attitudes and ideas. One student, reflecting on her culture, realized that there were many traditions that she valued, but attitudes towards women which she did not. Another student discussed the profound effects that mindset and self-confidence has on her success. And still another student highlighted how the structures and institutions in our society have to be more supportive in order to give everyone a chance to succeed. It's easy for me to find something to like in student writing and in students themselves. If I didn't feel this way, I never would have made it through 20 years as an English teacher. There is always something to appreciate in every person. I believe that each person has something to offer me, even if it is to remind me of ways I need to grow. Some of you may have heard it said that the people who trigger us to feel negative emotions are messengers. They're messengers for the unhealed parts of our being. I got that quote off Facebook. My Facebook feed is filled with stuff like this. In fact, some of the posts that pop up outright contradict each other. There's a war between posts that say, sit with the broken, have compassion for the meanies, because hurt people hurt people. And other posts that say, starting today, I am going to cut all the toxic people out of my life. But the truth is somewhere between those extremes, isn't it? If we ourselves are sensitive because of our own wounds, then the list of people who seem toxic to us is going to be very long. With self-awareness, we can learn why certain people or behaviors annoy us. Then we can flip the script to think about the other person and what might be motivating their behavior. All of this is not to say that we should tolerate cruelty or let others take advantage of time that we do not have. After all, my friends who have gone through grief educator training tell me that the most compassionate people are those who have healthy boundaries. But getting to know others in community, taking the time to learn about other people and in the process learn more about ourselves, this to me is a golden opportunity. Walt Whitman said, be curious, not judgmental. Curious is a much more positive way to put it than being nosy. I guess giving each other grace to be fully and authentically ourselves would be an even better way to put it. Some of you know me from the book club. I have run the book club here on and off for 16 years. And sure, I love the books, but it is not just about the books. It is about what we learn from each other as we talk about those books. When I first started the group, we named it the Women's Reading and Responding Book Club. And in it was Barbara Love, Alice and Olga Slavich, Betsy Walters, Peggy Boyd, Jane Parmenter, Louise Allison, Marvel Burke, and of course, Barbara Paulson. I heard John Morehouse describe my book club as an excuse for me to gather together all the matriarchs of the church so that I could learn from their wisdom. He was on to me. I guess that is how I want to approach life, as if I'm surrounded by lessons, if only I am open to the ideas. We've spoken a lot about how we as a church have been changed by having Steve as a minister, and how we are changing now that he has left. But what about how we have changed and grown as individuals? I learned from Steve about the importance of adult-sized creativity and play. I learned the power of speaking truth, even if we get choked up and cry in front of one another. I learned that it can be easy to gather a few people together and make an event happen. What about you? What did you learn from Steve? I'm learning from Chloe to slow down and take a breath. I am learning about what is the job of the minister and what is the job of the board. I am learning to be a bit more mature, to respond more calmly and clearly in my relationships. What about you? What are you learning from Chloe? I am learning from Jewel as well, who has been here almost a year now. I am learning a new language with which to speak about other cultures in a way that is respectful and full of understanding. I am learning about ways to promote multicultural inclusion and connections. What about you? What are you learning from Jewel? But beyond that, what can we learn from every single person in this room who has a story to tell? It is a room full of teachers for each of us. One of you showed me how to be sensitive and yet be a leader at the same time. One of you showed me how to set more boundaries, but in a way that is clear and kind. One of you showed me how to be forgiving and loving, even when I have been hurt. Who has touched you? If you remember during the first town hall in September, I asked everyone to write a thank you note to someone else who has touched them in some way. It was so exciting to me to pass those notes out. What a thrill to hand a nice little note or even a pile of notes to someone and to see the smile those gestures brought. What I really wanted, though, was to pass out more notes. I wanted everyone to get one. I thought we should have written notes to every single person in the church. Take a moment now to think about all the people in the church who've touched your life, who have taught you about life or yourself, who have helped you change, even if it means learning the ways you still need to grow. Go forth to live, to love, and to learn. Thank you.
Wow, that's pretty good, huh? That's preaching for you. And now it's time for the offertory. And due to much pressure, I'm including in today's offertory some offertory humor. A totally untrue story about Andrea Matson-DeKay. I was talking to Andrea Matson-DeKay the other day when she shared with me how she came to her faith. She and Carl were out on their boat when suddenly the Loch Ness Monster rose up out of the water and attacked their boat. The Loch Ness Monster grabbed the bow of the boat in its huge mouth, flipped Andrea way up into the air, and opened its mouth wide, prepared to catch her in its mouth for dinner. As Andrea fell towards that huge mouth filled with sharp teeth, without thinking, she said, "Oh my God, help me!" Suddenly, time froze. As she hung there in midair, a huge voice boomed out. "I thought you didn't believe in a personal God on whom you could call in times of crisis." And Andrea said, "Give me a break, God. A minute ago I didn't believe in the Loch Ness Monster either." So please give generously so others can believe too. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Great music. Worth coming up just for that, if you didn't get the wise words of Robin as well. So it's time for our affirmation of gratitude. So please read them along with me. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for all those who share their gifts, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us also be grateful for our needs, so that we may experience the generosity of others. Now it's time for our closing hymn, number 1010. You might rise and sing along. We give thanks.
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for those gathered here and those far away, and the love we share with a love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, those gathered here, and those far away, for the time we share with a love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
Thank you, precious day. This church is dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences, beneath all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together, in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. We pause in silent witness to that unity.
May the blessing of love be upon you. May love's peace abide with you. May love's presence illuminate your hearts, now and forevermore. So be it. Amen. Shalom. Salam. Namaste. And blessed be. And now our service truly begins.
Now a good postlude from the gang.
This tune has one little melody that goes like this. That's it. And but Bill Evans moves that little melody around, so you'll hear.
somewhere out there.